I was showing people the truth on my Twitter. I was showing people what Venezuela is actually like. The U.S. funds these Colombian cartel-linked terrorist groups that are active within Venezuela. They doxed my location. They tried to take me hostage. They actually showed up to the hotel I was at in two trucks.
That's crazy. How do you know the U.S. funds that group?
Well, they're very open about it.
Tired of feeling like your voice is being drowned out on social media? It's time to experience the new Parler, where your voice is heard, your opinions matter, and your freedom to speak is respected. Parler is back and it's better than ever. Reimagined to give you the ultimate control over your content, no confusing algorithms, deciding what you see, no hidden agendas, just real, authentic conversations. Share your thoughts, connect with like-minded people, and be part of a community where your free speech truly thrives. At Parler, your privacy is always a priority. Your data belongs to you. We're here to empower users, not control them. Whether you're engaging in discussions, sharing news, or just staying connected, Parler is the platform where you are in charge. Ready to take back control? Download the Parler app today on iOS or Android and join the movement. It's your voice, your platform. Let it be heard. Go to the App Store or Google Play Store today. Download Parler now, where you have the power.
All right, guys, he's back from Venezuela. Got in last night, right?
Yep. How's it going?
Good, man. How you been? It's been a while.
A year. A lot has happened over the past year.
A ton.
But I'm good.
Still dating a Russian woman?
A different one. A real Russian woman. She's very traditional. And so the thing we were talking right before we went live, it's like, no matter where they're from in the world, if they're westernized, if they live in Miami or LA, it's like, it's a lost cause. There's no reason to mess with them, I think.
So you think Western society is ruining women?
Yes, 100%. I mean, I just got back from Venezuela. I've been to China. Over the past 12 months, I've been to China, Russia, Morocco, Cuba, Mexico, Venezuela, all these countries and stuff. And they're all countries that don't have this like Western culture of drug use, OnlyFans, obesity, LGBT stuff, and like the women are just normal. They don't talk when they're not, spoken to or whatever. They're just very normal women. It's like it's a traditional role, and that's how it should be.
That's crazy because the Hollywood stigma is we have the hottest girls in LA and in Cali.
Well, I think they were hot, and then they went to whatever doctor that put the giant injections in their lips and their tits and everything like that, and then they thought that they're hot, but the truth is, it's like, if you're really beautiful, if God made you as a beautiful woman, why would you change that? Why would you change his work? It doesn't make any sense to me.
It's wild. And now some of them are changing genders too.
Yeah.
Olympics, Mr. Beast guy, I forget his name or her name.
Chris.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the thing. It's like, you can talk about women in America, but people don't even know what a woman is in America anymore. People are cheerleading on this the Algerian Olympic person. Frankly, I don't really know what the situation is with that because there's half the people are saying she is a woman, half the people are saying she's not a woman. But I'm like, it seems like that would be pretty easy to determine. I don't know. They see the International Boxing Association banned her, right? But the Olympics allowed her to compete, so I don't know.
Weird times, man. How was Venezuela, though? I heard there were some stories there.
Yeah. Venezuela was, honestly, it was like, we're just lied to so much about all these countries. And I don't believe anything that the news tells me, but even a country like Venezuela, I was just lied to so much about it that I thought when I got there it was going to be horrible and a mess and chaotic. And like I said, I recently went to Cuba, and Cuba was really bad. There's horrible infrastructure, and that's due to the economic blockade that the United States has put on it. But when I went to Venezuela, I expected it to be horrible, kind of like Cuba. But it's nice. There's no homeless people anywhere. There's clean streets. I lived in Los Angeles for 2.5 years. LA has like homeless people and human, fecal matter all across the sidewalks and everything, crime everywhere. But in Venezuela, it was very nice, beautiful women. There's really nice hotels, good food. And honestly, I was surprised.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is your goal just to go to these countries that you saw in the media?
Don't let allergies keep you up at night. Sambrosa Night Syrup is your more homeopathic solution for a restful night. Blending the sweetness of a honey base with 7 organic herbs and a small dose of antihistamine, Sambrosa provides effective relief from allergy symptoms while calming your body for a peaceful night's rest. It's over-the-counter, gentle, and made from the ingredients you trust. Wake up refreshed with Sambrosa Night Syrup. Visit sambrosa.com today and rest easy tonight.
You're growing up and trying to figure out the truth?
I guess that's part of it. You know, I appreciate the leadership of these countries, especially Russia and China and Venezuela. And there was presidential elections this week in Venezuela, and it was like very fraught elections because people, if you're wondering like why is Venezuela lied about so much, Venezuela has the largest reserves of oil in the entire world. It's a small country, but it has the most oil. It has the most gas reserves on the entire continent. It has the most gold on the entire continent. So all these countries like the United States and the United Kingdom and all the big banks in these countries, they want to steal all the oil, the gas, the gold, and all the other resources, the aluminum, for transnational corporations and just the country.
Damn.
And the people there say, well, we don't want that to happen. We want it to be, you know, our gold, our oil. They want to reap the benefits and the profits of this stuff. So the U.S. will do anything that they can to try and take out the leader, Nicolas Maduro, who's been the president for quite some time, because he actually stands for his people. He's kind of like the Trump of Venezuela. He's like the Trump of Latin America. So I got to go down there. I was observing the elections. They have very safe elections. That's another lie I've heard. Like in America, is this on YouTube, by the way?
Yeah, but we could play around with it.
In America, there have been allegations that our elections are not secure and safe and that things were not kosher in the 2020 election, everyone knows.
Yep.
And the only reason why there's even those allegations is because we have, you know, these private Dominion voting machines, and they use Wi-Fi to allow people to vote, which means they can be hacked. There's no paper trail. There's no paper ballots. There's in a lot of states, you don't even need an ID to go and vote. Like, I don't know how many states it is, but I know in California, you didn't need an ID to go vote. They say it's racist.
Wow.
But in Venezuela, they have ID verification. They have thumbprint verification. You have an electronic ballot. You have a paper ballot. Both of them get audited. 54% of all the ballot or all the polling stations get audited 3 times by all the political parties. So it's about as safe and secure as you could ever imagine. And I was a part of an international delegation observing it. I went to different like polling stations throughout the voting process, and they have way better elections than we have here.
Wow. And that's like considered a third world country.
Yeah.
So that's pretty
But
crazy.
again, it's like I went there, and I don't know what's considered third world because their major cities look a lot nicer than our major cities. You know, they're safer. I don't feel like scared walking around Venezuela in the middle of the night. But when I walk around LA or New York, it's like I better have a gun or a knife on me, you know, because you never know what's going to happen here.
Damn, that's wild. So no mental issues over there?
No. Well, there's some. You know, there is a big opposition in Venezuela because, look, from 2016 to 2020, Venezuela had a lot of really big economic issues because, well, actually, it started in 2014 under Obama. He started applying all these sanctions on Venezuela and saying that it was like a threatening country to the United States. I guess it's only threatening because Venezuela didn't want to give up their oil and gold to, you know, Chase and to Chevron and to the British banking system. But a lot of people did suffer economically for a while. It was a very, very bad situation because though Venezuela has the most oil, it's heavy crude oil, which means that they need to have, you know, light crude as an input to be able to refine the oil and sell it to the world. When they got shut off by all the Western markets, they didn't have any of that light crude or the chemicals that they need to refine the oil. So oil production basically stopped.
Wow.
And then my good friend, his name is Alex Saab. He's like the right-hand man of the president. He's a big Venezuelan businessman. he completely reorganized the Venezuelan economy when the sanctions came in and started doing business with Iran and Russia, China, Turkey to get all those additives and chemicals and whatever else they needed to lift their economy back up. And he brought food into the country when the U.S. was blocking food to enter Venezuela. And Venezuela is actually self-sufficient on food. All the food that they consume there, they produce in Venezuela now. And it has the highest economic growth. It has some of the lowest inflation on the entire continent now. And this guy, Alex Saab, he's kind of like the hero of Venezuela because he saved their economy and now the people there are doing fine again. But he's a target of the West. So the West actually, under Mike Pompeo, who was the head of the CIA at the time under the Trump administration in 2017, I think it was 2017, 2019, Alex Saab was flying to Russia. And, you know, he's got a wife, he's got kids. They stopped his plane in Cape Verde and they took him as a prisoner. The U.S. dictated them to do that. And then they tortured him in prison for 2 years in Cape Verde. They extradited him just down the street in Miami, like right by the Whole Foods and where I live. And they kept him up on the 12th floor and they tortured him every single day for 2 years straight.
Holy crap.
So that's what, you know, he's not a criminal, but that's what they do to people who are trying to help save their country in the face of sanctions. You know, it's terrible what our country does, but it's politics.
Holy he get out?
Yeah, I was with him this week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't know the U.S. blocked food into that country. That's crazy.
Yeah, they blocked food. I mean, people, that's the thing. People say, oh, like, Venezuela's starving. It's like, well, yeah, it's starving because if any other country were to send food to Venezuela when we had the sanctions on Venezuela, the U.S. would sanction that country or that company or that agricultural company that's sending in the food. So there was a complete blockade. And Alex Saab started a program in Venezuela in which they provided food, like food boxes every single week, every single month for 7 million homes inside of Venezuela, which is almost the whole country.
Damn. Dude, it makes you wonder if they're lying about China and Russia too now. If they're lying about Venezuela. I mean, why not?
Yeah. The thing with Venezuela, though, is like there's a lot of money that's involved. People are very dedicated to trying to overthrow the government. So when the elections happen this week, there's all this fake news. Elon Musk is pushing all this fake news about Venezuela.
Elon is?
Of course.
Really?
I mean, he's got a vested interest. They have a bunch of lithium. They have aluminum. They have cobalt. And he wants to coup the leader of Venezuela and remove him from office because he wants someone in power that's just going to give those resources basically for pennies on the dollar to the United States. So he's putting out all this fake news. And the U.S. also funds like terrorist groups inside of Venezuela to commit terrorist attacks and create instability and chaos in the country. So when I was there, I was showing people the truth on my Twitter. I was showing people what Venezuela is actually like. I was talking about the president and saying that he's a good guy. He's been lied about. And the U.S. funds these Colombian cartel-linked terrorist groups that are active within Venezuela, and they doxed my location. They tried to take me hostage and assassinate me while I was there.
Wow.
And they actually showed up to the hotel I was at in two trucks. They were all armed. It was like about 15 guys. They were all armed. And they were gonna take me hostage. Fortunately, I got out of the hotel just minutes before they got there.
Minutes too.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How do you know the U.S. funds that group?
Oh, they're very open about it. I mean, the U.S. has like this cabal like network of NGOs that they fund, like the National Endowment for Democracy, USAID, and they do this all through the CIA and government programs, and they fund these Colombian terrorist groups. They've been doing it for decades and decades and decades. The U.S. doesn't even have an embassy inside of Venezuela right now. They only have an embassy in Bogota, Colombia. So everything they do is there. And yeah, I mean, the U.S. Embassy, the State Department was all aware of the fact that these groups were trying to kill me. They did nothing.
Wow.
Those are their employees, you know? essentially they're contractors that are trying to put a hit on me. So once I got free, the Venezuelan government provided me with security, a security detail, and drivers for the rest of the week and stuff. But I'm like, isn't that insane that they care so much about protecting the interests of these oil companies in the United States that they're willing to sic their Colombian terrorists to go and kill an American citizen that's reporting the truth inside of Venezuela?
Nuts. Dude, last time you came on, we were talking about this. Like, what would happen if someone tried to assassinate you?
Yeah. I mean, it's a crazy world, but there's just so much money involved that it's like one death is not that big of a deal in the eyes of these people when you're talking about hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars, you know?
Damn, that is crazy, dude. What about China? How long were you there, and what were you trying to do out there?
I was there for 2 weeks in Shanghai, and I'm going back soon. I'm going to go to Shanghai and Xinjiang, which is another area that's lied about. But, you know, China's got the biggest economy in the world. GDP, purchasing power parity, China's economy is like, I think it's like $5 trillion larger than the U.S. economy, and the infrastructure is great. I saw a stat today. China has now almost doubled the amount of manufacturing output that we have in the United States. So they're the future. They're the ones that are going to win this, you know, giant economic war that's happening in the world right now. But I went there to go meet with politicians and talk with them. And I mean, my whole mission is like, as an American, we should be pushing for peace with these countries that have standing armies that are much larger than ours, that have economies that are much larger than ours, rather than try to pursue war with them. So, you know, you go there, you meet with people. It's like people-to-people diplomacy. You want to show average Chinese people that, like, all Americans aren't hell-bent on bringing war against your country or something like that. We want to do business and trade with you guys.
Every time I see them in the media, it's a negative article.
Of course. I mean, even at the Olympics this week, you saw that swimmer. There was a Chinese swimmer that broke a world record. I think it was like the 100-meter freestyle.
Saw that, yeah.
And like everyone's like, he's using steroids. This is fake. There's no way. And it's like, okay, he has like 1 gold medal, 2 gold medals. He broke the world record. But then you have U.S. swimmers that break like 5 world records in a single Olympics, and no one accuses them of using steroids. You know, it's just, there's so much hypocrisy, and especially about the governments. It's like, we say all these bad things about China, but China hasn't started any wars in my lifetime. The U.S., how many, I don't even know how many wars we've started. I can't keep track. How many governments we've couped, how many leaders we've killed. It's insurmountable. But then China, you look at them, and they're just winning the world by doing like good business. That's what we should do.
And they paint that as the enemy.
Yeah.
And then look at us.
They're good at it.
Crazy. And they teach us in school like the opposite.
Yeah.
It's nuts, man. I'm glad Twitter is, I know you spoke a little negatively about Elon, but I think he really did well with Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Elon and I don't see eye to eye on everything, but he and I are like, you know, it's like there's a certain type of person in America, mostly liberals, some neoconservatives, pro-war conservatives, that just won't debate ideas, won't have any conversations about difficult topics. But Elon never shies away from having a debate. I disagree with him vehemently on Israel, on Russia, on Venezuela, of course. But he's never shied away from having a debate, and I think that is something I could appreciate. And of course, like, under the previous Twitter leadership, I would have been banned years ago. Yeah. I was banned by them. Everyone on Twitter that's popular right now would have already been banned. So you got to give him credit for that. And Twitter now this week became globally the most used social media app ahead of Instagram and Facebook. So that's a big feat.
Yeah, that's huge. And since you've come on, you've gotten banned on Instagram, right?
I've been banned everywhere.
Yeah, so Twitter's your last one.
Twitter and Rumble, actually, Chinese social media. I'm about to hit 1 million followers on Chinese social media.
What's the app called?
They have 2. Like, Weibo is their Twitter alternative, and Bilibili is their YouTube alternative. So,
damn.
But like 1 million followers on Chinese social media is not a lot.
Because they have so many people. Wow. Do you have to speak and like, does it auto translate?
I have a team that does it.
Damn, that's cool. Can you download those apps in the US, or do you have to be in China? Oh, really? They don't block those?
No. They're great apps. The usability is like very similar to American apps and stuff. It's got great user interface, but again, even in China, it's like not everyone agrees with the Communist Party. Not everyone's a Chinese nationalist. There are like pro-Western people there, but on their social media, they don't like ban people just because they have a differing view about the West. They allow those debates to flourish, and that's how they arrive at the correct positions that they have that are allowing them to be so successful as a country. Whereas in America, if you're pro-Russia like me, I've been banned from Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Venmo, PayPal, a bunch of merchandise stores. I got banned from Raya.
What?
A year ago, I got banned from Raya over being pro-Russian or something.
Oh, jeez.
I've been banned from everywhere, and it's like people say, oh, China and Russia have so much censorship on their social media and in their media. It's like, okay, look at what they're censoring. When China censors stuff from movies that come out of Hollywood, or when Russia censors stuff that comes out of movies from Hollywood, no one actually asked the question, what are they censoring? They're not censoring just like random stuff. They're censoring the transgenderism. They're censoring the LGBT stuff because they understand that like kids in our country are going to be watching these movies, and we don't want the kids to be infected by this like, you know, like racial ideology that the liberals push or the woke ideology. They don't want that.
Yeah.
So they take it out. And then the West points the finger and says, oh, you're bad. It's like, well, I think we should do that in America. I think we should have some sort of a commission that says, in an effort to protect the youth of this country, because we know young people use social media and watch movies that are not supposed to watch, we should be doing a better job of protecting the youth from these extremist, woke, cult-like ideologies, I think.
I think so, too. I just had Charleston White on again. He said hip-hop is banned in Russia.
I don't know about that, but I went there. I was just telling our friend here, Max, that I was like, when I got to Russia, the last time I went, I got there and I was with some friends, and the first song that they played in the car when we got in the car was that Kendrick song, Not Like Us. They're all singing it with their Russian accents. They're like, do you know this song? I'm like, yeah,
That's hilarious.
I know that song.
That's so funny. Dude, whoever made your Wikipedia does not like you.
Oh, no.
Have you seen that page?
Well, it's the CIA.
You think so?
Of course. The CIA runs the Wikipedia for anyone that they don't like. So if you're like a famous influencer that attacks the CIA, the State Department, and supports these countries that are pushing for sovereignty in their own countries, they will completely monitor your Wikipedia. They won't allow anyone to edit it. If people try to edit my Wikipedia in a way that reflects me in a correct manner, they ban their Wikipedia accounts.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, and Wikipedia ranks high on Google, so like...
Yeah, no, it's the first thing people see. It's like... It's like... you know, it's like, if you look at my Wikipedia, it says, you know, what is this person known for? And it says I'm known for conspiracy theories and misinformation.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry. Rachel Maddow was the one that told us that COVID vaccines were safe and effective. She told us that Ukraine was this beacon of democracy. She told us that, you know, all the lies that the Russiagate and everything like that, which are now verifiable lies. But her Wikipedia doesn't say anything about, oh, she's known for conspiracy theories and misinformation. So they have a vested interest in trying to make people like us look as insane as possible. But if you actually listen to us, what we say, and the people we talk to, it's like really not that insane, what I have to say.
It's pretty nuts, dude. You think they should get rid of the CIA?
I think they need to get rid of the CIA. I think they need to get rid of the State Department as it currently exists. I mean, these groups, Trump calls them the deep state, and it's a very, very accurate term, because in countries like China, they don't have a deep state. They have like a civilizational state. They have like this rich, proud history of like Confucianism and Chinese history, Chinese tradition that is the guiding light for their country. In America, we've completely abandoned American history and the founding fathers. I mean, my family sailed to America on the Mayflower. They were the religious leaders on the Mayflower. They wrote the Mayflower Compact. They fought in the American Revolution. I'm told all those people are like racist that we need to reject and leave out of history. And what is the guiding light of America now? It's the CIA, it's the State Department, it's all these groups I'm mentioning, National Endowment for Democracy, NATO leaders and stuff like that. And who controls that? It's this private cartel of transnational corporations and banks like Wall Street. Okay, so if your government answers to the needs of corporations and Wall Street rather than the people, you're going to have fundamental problems that cannot be addressed. And that's why we have all this like woke DEI stuff. That's why we have an economy that's crumbling. De-dollarization is taking shape all across the world. You have politicians that are spending half our taxes on paying off private debt and making bombs for more wars. It's like, how does any of that help our country? It doesn't.
Scary. Dollar might be crashing one day.
I mean, the dollar crashing maybe in our lifetimes, who knows? But as for the prominence of the dollar, that's over. It's completely over. You know, all these countries are right now. We're in the process of like the initial stages of de-dollarization. So you have all these countries in BRICS, right, which is the new economic bloc, and 6 out of the top 9 oil-producing countries in the world are in BRICS, and they're not using the dollar. Even Saudi Arabia is in BRICS now, leader of OPEC. No one's using the dollar. They're all bypassing the sanctions that the U.S. has applied. Russia's economy is stronger after the sanctions. They're the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world. They're the largest economy in Europe now. First time in 14 years that they've been this big.
Dang.
China's economy is huge. Iran's economy is growing. You know, and no one's using the dollar. And the whole point of the dollar, now that it's off the gold standard, is that we can use it as a financial weapon of war against countries that don't agree with us. So you say like, okay, Iran, you want to go to war against Israel? Well, we're going to sanction you. We're going to remove you from the SWIFT financial system until you get in line. But now Iran looks at the U.S. and they say, okay, have fun with that. We're going to work on the Russian alternative to SWIFT, and we're going to do business with China and Russia in our own national currency, so we don't need you anymore. You know? It's
That's
over.
nuts. That's scary, man.
I think it's good.
You think it's good?
The U.S. needs to understand that we're not a nation above all other nations. You know, of course, I'm prideful as an American. I'm an American patriot. I love my country. I love my people. But when you have this like American exceptionalist ideology that we're better than everyone else, I mean, of course, I get very happy when I see us winning the most Olympic medals and stuff like that. But when you think that fundamentally, like at a biological level, that we are somehow better than the rest of the world, the rest of the people of the world, that's what leads to the ideology of like all these endless wars that we pursue. And eventually that leads to the implosion of our economy because it's very, very dangerous decision making. And when you treat 99% of the world like that, if you put a boot on 99% of the world's neck, eventually the 99% of the world is going to get together and say, we don't like this, and they're going to rise up and they're going to do something about it. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Right.
This is the initial stage. They're just doing this economically. What happens when BRICS has a parliament? What happens when BRICS has like a NATO equivalent to challenge the West? You know, it's going to get ugly.
So we could see a World War III potentially in our lifetime.
Sean, we could see World War III this week. I think a couple weeks ago when we saw Trump almost get shot in the head, we almost saw civil war break out in the United States. Everyone laughs like, oh, civil war. No, I think if he had been shot in the head, we would have seen civil war. And I think this week, maybe Monday, the podcast will come out later, so we'll see if I'm correct or not. But I think early next week, we're going to see Iran, Lebanon, Hezbollah, and Israel get into a major regional war. Russia right now, over the past 24 hours, has been sending a nonstop flow of weapons and missile jamming systems, the most powerful weapon systems they have, to Iran. Iran is giving their less powerful but still powerful weapons to Hezbollah, and they're preparing for, I think, an all-out war.
Damn.
Could be wrong. Maybe Russia's giving them all these weapons to say, hey, we're going to give you these weapons, Iran, just chill out. We're going to help protect you. You can do a few bombs at Israel, but, keep it chill.
What's the cause of this one? I haven't been following this one.
I mean, it's just years of built-up aggression by the West. I mean, people have all these conspiracy theories about Israel and whatever, and it's like, it is true that every American president in our lifetime has been a Zionist. They're strong supporters of the state of Israel. They believe in the state of Israel. They put the interests of countries like Israel and Ukraine first.
Even Trump?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, he's 100%. But the thing is, it's like there's a lot of people on the right in America, kind of like, think about this. The left in America, they say like, oh, the problem is straight white men. The problem is like, they say straight white men are the problem. It's kind of the same thing when these right-wingers say, oh, the problem is immigrants, or the problem is like, they'll say like the anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about like Jewish people. And I just sit back and I'm like, all of you are wrong. We've had nothing but Christian presidents in America, and you're telling me that the problem is Jewish people? It's the ideology of Zionism, which is not actually related to Judaism at all. Of course, a lot of Jewish people are Zionists, but it's not actually related to Judaism. And I think there's many Jewish people that stand against what's happening right now, and I think that's a good thing.
Right.
There's many Christians that stand against it as well. But ultimately, the problem is finance capital and the stranglehold that it has on our governments that in the West and the governments that the West controls. And all these governments answer to the demands of these, private capital interests.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Jewish people are getting attacked right now on Twitter, man.
Yeah. And it's like, of course, I'm going to attack anyone that's doing apology for a genocide, but there's Christians doing apology for the genocide. There's even like self-described Muslims. I know Muslims would reject that. Real Muslims would say, oh, well, they're not really Muslims if they're doing apology for the genocide. But like, there's so many people who are doing this. And it's like, at its core, Israel is just a U.S. aircraft carrier in the Middle East. That is our strategic base in the Middle East, a region of the world that has tons of oil, tons of gas, and is really vital for countries like Russia and countries like China to have good relations with. So the U.S. wants to create as much, division and chaos there as possible. They want the governments like Saudi Arabia and the UAE to make peace with Israel because it allows them to keep other countries with the boot on their neck, and it allows them to have control over these, countries like Saudi Arabia and wield influence in their governments. But, Israel is just like Ukraine. It's a proxy that we use to wage war against other countries that have vital resources that pose an economic threat to the United States.
Do you still think the U.S. should invade Canada?
The U.S. should definitely invade Canada. And I've hardened my stance on that since we last spoke.
Really?
Of course. In fact, my colleagues and I, we launched a new political party in the United States this week. And if you look at the logo of our party, it includes Canada. And we actually have, we launched it less than 2 weeks ago. It went viral on Twitter for a full week. It was trending on Twitter. We've already made inroads with bilateral agreements with other parties across the world in different countries, showing that we want peace with them. And, this week I was in Venezuela. I spoke with President Maduro of Venezuela about our party and talking with him about this. And we launched, it's a very, very rigorous process because we don't want to allow just anyone in the party right now because we want it to be a very strong base of people. But we launched our first 10 chapters yesterday, and we've been doing interviews with all the people that are applying to join the party, like 15 hours of interviews every single day.
That's intense.
Yeah, and we have like 2 or 3 of our American party chapters that are actually in Canada.
Okay.
So Canada, we reject the existence of Canada as a sovereign state.
That's hilarious. What's the party called?
The American Communist Party.
American Communist Party. Wow. Why'd you start that?
Because no one has a vision for America right now. You know, it's like the right wing in America. While I sympathize with like their traditional, you know, cultural values, and I sympathize a lot with libertarians, conservatives. I agree with a lot of the things they say. Okay, we shouldn't have like this like woke trans ideology pushed on the children of our country. Okay, do you want an award for saying that? Like, you have all these conservative influencers that are like, you know, it's bad that, you know, we're telling 7-year-olds to cut their off. And it's like, yeah, that is bad. Like, what else? You know, that the rest of the world looks at conservatives and they're like, well, of course, you know, but conservatives in America think they're like Gandhi or they're Mandela for saying these things. It's like, well, no, this is a very, very simple conclusion to arrive at. The not so simple conclusion to arrive at is that America needs a transformational reorganization of our economy, of political life, of course, our culture. And the only way that we can achieve that is through communism. We need to have true visionaries that cannot just critique the establishment or critique on the left, you know, these leftist liberals. They critique like, again, like white men or straight men or all these like traditional narratives and stuff. That's just like reactionary positions.
Yeah.
That doesn't get us anywhere as a country. It just keeps us fighting. We need someone that's going to actually pave the way for the future and say, this is the economic pathway we need to take. This is how we'll get it done. And we can point to other countries to say, you know, this is how they've done it in the past.
Right.
You look, communism's been so lied about. In America, people think communism is like blue-haired college liberals that go to Berkeley or something. But the truth of the matter is Stalin or Che Guevara or Mao or any of these people, they would have put those blue-haired college liberals that are aligning with the Nazis in Ukraine, and they would have put them on a wall and shot them all one by one. Now these people have like Stalin profile pictures on their Twitter. No, Stalin would have killed you. It's just the fact.
Crazy.
You go to any other country in the world that's not a Western country, and the communists know that. They understand that. They think the Western liberals are all insane, just as we do. They're Christians. You know, in Russia, it's like the leading communists are all Christians. You go to Latin America, the leading communists like Maduro, Christians.
Interesting.
They're very traditional. They believe in family values. In Venezuela, they have people's militias of like 4 million people nationwide that are not attached to the military, but they're all armed to the teeth to protect their sovereignty. So there's a lot of lies that are kind of pushed about communists, but our basic idea is that as an American Communist Party, we're rooted in traditionalism. We're rooted in America finding its unique place in a multipolar world with all these countries like Russia and China. We don't want to go to war with anyone. We want to make peace with them, do good business with them. And we want to show the world, specifically Americans, that as the left and the right are abandoning their economic interests, their financial interests, that we can show the world that, hey, look, our chapters across the country are going to be building businesses. We're going to be doing nationwide trucking and shipping. We're going to be doing a lot of very cool stuff. I don't want to get too much into it right now, but basically business enterprises for all these small business enterprises for all these chapters across the nation, and that's how we're going to fund ourselves as a party.
Nice. Yeah, I used to really like capitalism growing up and being an entrepreneur, but the more I look into it, like big food, big pharma, all these wars, it's kind of like, damn, maybe that's not the move.
You look at that President Bukele in El Salvador. I like him a lot. He's the guy that like took they had the worst murder rate, the worst crime rate in all of Latin America. And Bukele came in and he got the military behind him. He's very patriotic, like Julius Caesar type figure. And he took all the cartel members and he put them in prison. And magically, you know, the West starts to hate him when he did that. America starts to hate him. They're like, why are you doing this? You're depriving them of their human rights. Human rights for cartel members. These guys are in satanic cults and they're killing people on the streets each and every day. And they're doing this at the behest of the United States, of course, to create division and chaos and do the drug trade in Latin America. And now his country's on the right path. And now, since he's dealt with the crime issue, he's focusing on going after big agriculture. And he's promoting like small businesses and small farmers in his country. And he's being attacked again for doing that because he's going up against these major financial institutions. So
Wow.
that's what it's all about. You know, another misconception, communism is against private, small private businesses. No. Look at China today. It's like, I think it's around 25% of China, communist country, has small businesses like mom and pop shops or small enterprises and stuff. And it's a vital part of their economy.
Have you looked into that Alibaba guy, Jack Ma? Because I remember there was a lot of headlines about him, about China kind of silencing him.
Well, look, I mean, the way I see it, it's like people like Jack Ma, people like Bill Gates, people like Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, there's something so fundamentally anti-human about what they do. And of course, I think that they should be held accountable for what they've done. In every Abrahamic religion, they say that, you know, governing your people by debt, with high interest loans, with all these systems of money making for, you know, it's making money from money's sake, just like endless amounts of cash. But they're doing it in a way that's fundamentally satanic. You know, it's just like the rapacious for-profit middlemen. These are all things that, you know, Jesus Christ talks about in the Bible and says, like, no, we should not be doing this. But for some reason, it's become commonplace in Christian countries all across the world. And even to a certain degree in some Muslim countries. Not all of them, but some of them. And I think that when you have these like mega, I don't have a problem with people being rich. I think we should make as many people rich as possible. I don't have a problem with people being rich. What I have a problem with is when you have people like Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Bezos, Jack Ma, who are taking up all the land, all the oil, all the gas, all the gold, all whatever it is, and they're hoarding it for themselves. No, this is America. We fought for this country. That's our oil. That's our land. BlackRock doesn't get to own all of it. That it's not theirs. There's nothing fundamentally American about allowing a giant private investment firm or one billionaire owning like 20% of the private land in this country. We should have that land. That should be our land. It does nothing good for the American public to have that in the hands of one guy who's going to, who knows what they're going to do with it. You know, they're going to have like factory robot farming, AI farming on it, some crazy projects. You know, it's like, I think that people like that should be put in a dark prison cell for the rest of their lives and never let out again.
Yeah. It's also like a double shot because they don't pay any tax on it.
The main thing I've seen when I go and visit all these other countries like China and Russia and stuff, everywhere has its problems, right? But what I've noticed traveling to like 8 countries over the past year, 20 states in the US over the past year, what I've noticed is in America, our government is completely okay with the idea of doing the following, and other countries are not okay with doing this stuff. America's okay with allowing our citizenry to become obese, to push them into obesity, push them into online OnlyFans, push them into drug addiction, push them into homelessness, push them into crippling debt, while allowing the elite of the elite buy up all the resources, hoard it for themselves, and screw over the American public. If that's your mode of governance, the state will not continue to exist for all that longer into the future without serious problems. And I think we're beginning to see those problems play out.
Yeah. So you think the gap's getting too big between the 1% and the rest?
I think it's way too big already. I think it's just like, it's not even the 1%. It's like the tippy top 0.0001%. And then you have people like Bernie Sanders that come around and they're like, oh, we need to tax the top 0.001%. It's not about taxing them. It's about allowing Americans to actually utilize the soil beneath our own feet. It's, you know, Elon Musk could come in. He's not even from this country. He's got enough money to buy up like all the apartments, all the homes, and completely screw the country. He's not. But other people like Bill Gates and people you've never heard of, billionaires we've never heard of, are doing that. If you can have that take place in a country, that's a national security threat. So I think we need a fundamental reorganization of the economy. I think that we need to cancel all private debt for all Americans. I think we need to have banking in the hands of the state rather than in the hands of these unelected, unaccountable private institutions. I think that when it comes to oil, when it comes to gas, when it comes to lumber, aluminum, lithium, all these like vital natural resources, those should be in the hands of the state rather than private corporations who are stealing all the profits. And I think that you look at big tech, right now, the government doesn't own big tech, but it can tell big tech to do whatever it wants it to do because there's no free speech protections, right? The government can't get sued for violating my free speech because they don't own big tech. They're just like telling them, we think you should ban this Jackson Hinkle guy.
That's how they get around it.
Yeah. But if they were to be forced into operating it or owning it, not even operating it, just owning it, then if they ever did ban anyone for political speech, they'd be sued and it'd be overturned in the courts and you'd get your account back. So those are the fundamental issues I think we need to address as a country.
Yeah, we need free speech back, man. This is America.
It doesn't look like America anymore. My family's not even political, and they look at what's happened to me. I'm close with them, but they're not political, and they're like, this isn't America anymore. It's like even if I don't agree with your views, you've been banned everywhere just for saying like maybe we shouldn't go to war with Russia. Maybe we shouldn't support this genocide happening that Israel's doing.
Crazy, and there's a lot of people like you too that are banned.
Yeah, there's a lot. COVID, Russia gave elections. It doesn't matter if you just question this stuff, then you're gonna get banned.
Alex Jones was like the first one.
Yeah, look at what they're doing to him now.
He's going bankrupt now because of it.
And he's like the most open-minded guy on the face of the planet. I went to Texas a few weeks ago and I did a show with him and talked with him and stuff. And he's so open-minded. He's so well-read. Like I showed up and I gave him, when I was in Russia, I got this like commemorative gold Stalin coin. When I went to China, I got a gold coin of the Communist Party's first National Congress. And I gave those coins to him. And we started talking about Chinese communism. We started talking about Stalin. He appreciates Stalin a lot. It's like, and then I was like, you should come to China with me. And now we're talking about going to China in late September, going to Russia soon with him. So it's like, I think what the U.S. fears is not conspiracy theorists. They fear people who are open-minded and willing to simply question the narratives we've been fed. Absolutely. And Alex Jones is one of them.
I would love to see him and Putin in a room together. I would break the internet, I think.
I was like, Alex, you got to come with me to China. He's like, China? I don't know about, you think they're going to arrest me? And I'm like, no. I already talked to the Chinese. They're like, we'd love to have him and show, just like walk the streets of China. Yeah. See it for yourself. Understand it's not what you've been told. And he's like, okay.
He's probably safer in other countries than here, to be honest.
That's how I feel. Except when I was in Venezuela, but that was not the Venezuelans' fault. That was the U.S. fault.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah. We'll end off with this, man. Who do you think's winning this election in November?
Well, I think when it was Biden, everyone agreed that Trump was going to win. But I think now it's a toss-up. And I think if it's a toss-up, if it's a close race, again, to quote Alex Jones, he says, in the U.S. elections, if there's a landslide, they can't steal the election results via fraud because you can't stop millions and millions and millions and millions of votes. But if it's a close election, very close, very easy to steal an election like that. So I would not be surprised if we have Kamala Harris in 2024. And that's painful to think about. But I think that Trump's also made a lot of mistakes. It's like, he's beginning to surround himself with the same big money donors and deep state aligned individuals that plagued his first 3 years in office. The last year in office, he did great things because he got rid of those people like John Bolton, Elliot Abrams, Mike Pompeo, Rex Tillerson. He's starting to get close with some of these people again. When you look at Gaza, he's just saying stupid stuff about saying, oh, Israel needs to finish the job and stuff like that. Talks about Russia. He's very mixed. He sometimes says we need peace. Sometimes he says, I told Putin that if he invaded Ukraine, I'd bomb Moscow. So it's like, the thing about Trump is, everyone knows, wild card. We don't know what we're going to get, which, I'd say is better than what we do know we're going to get from the establishment, Kamala Harris, because it's just going to be more pro-Wall Street, pro-war, pro-DEI, pro all this stuff. So, it's a shame, but hopefully, they don't kill him. Hopefully, they don't try to lock him up in some legal BS, and hopefully he manages to overcome the odds. But I don't see myself voting for any of them.
Yeah, I'm not voting.
You're not?
No.
Why?
I feel like it doesn't matter, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's up to say that, but like, I just feel like,
it's like, for me, I might even have considered voting for Trump, but it's like 30, 40,000 people dead in Gaza, and he's saying finish the job. How could I vote for that?
Yeah.
It's like, I agree with him on some things, but it's like, when you're saying stuff like that, that's just insane. It's so insane, and a vote is very powerful. No one should give up their vote if it's not earned by the politicians.
Yeah. I would vote for RFK if I thought he had a chance. But I think he's just not even in the mix because they're not letting him debate, which sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How the system works.
Yep. Well, it's been fun, man. Where can people find you where you're not banned at?
Pretty much only X. X, Twitter. So Jackson Hinkle on Twitter. And hopefully I'll be there for long into the future.
Perfect. We'll link below. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.